Looking to learn life lessons without going through the experience? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Hidden Struggles with your host, Lady C.
Hi, this is Lady C. Thank you for tuning in to Hidden Struggles, where you can learn life lessons without going through the experience. My upcoming guest, Demarquis Johnson, he's an artist and a ghostwriter. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about trauma and how you can overcome it. So Demarquis, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thanks for having me.
All righty. So Demarquis, just give us a little bit of history about, you being a ghostwriter and your profession as an artist.
Okay. Well, I've always been a painter and a writer. Always growing up, I've been a writer and painting and doing things like that. And I try to paint pictures that are slice of life, showing different things that people go through, and just putting messages and words in my stories and in my painting to help people, to inspire them to move on in life and just go through whatever they're going through, to uplift them in the moment.
That's excellent. And you know what, when we our paths crossed on Podcast Nation and people were just kind of coming out talking about different things and saying, hey, look, I'm looking to introduce new people to my channel or my podcast. And so when I saw Marcus and all the work that he had done, I was like, wow, he would be an interesting person to have on the program. And then we had a discussion and we talked a lot about, like mental health and different things like that. And because he was going to school for that, he basically was all into the conversation. So let's just jump right into it. Demarquis, you want to talk a little bit about trauma and what you know about it?
Well, I noticed that I worked for a while in some psych centers while I was going to school. I was working to get a psychology degree. I ended up dropping out, but I picked up some things while I was in school and, of course, working the different mental health tech centers and treatment centers. And I noticed that people spend a lot of money on counseling. And I see counseling is just like going to get service work on your car. They're going to try to find other stuff wrong with you. I mean, counseling is a business and they want you to keep coming. And then I think a lot of people miss that. Some of that work needs to be done on your own. Those people are only going to advise you so much because of liability. They don't want to say that, hey, he gave me advice and this didn't work. And, I almost killed myself or something. So a lot of the work, it comes down to you. The foundation is in you to make the change or whatever you're looking for.
Yeah. I thought that was really interesting because on my other channel that I have, we often tell people to go and find a therapist. And then we get people to say that people will make comments about our statement that we make on the podcast. And they'll say, oh my God, I can't believe you're telling them to go over to the therapy and get therapy because they're just as bad as the place they're coming from. So what is your experience in dealing with the mental health industry?
I think therapy and counseling is a great thing. I just think that the only thing about it is you need to do more work than you're expecting your therapist or counselor to do. And it's like, it's on you. It's really not on them. I mean, they're doing a job. You can't blame them for keep wanting to schedule you appointments and keep you coming back, keep spoon feeding you. But the work, like I said, it really has to be done by you.
Really? So like if the work has to be done by the person that's going to see the therapist, but what does the therapist guide them and tell them?
Right. The therapist is, or the counselor is like a paid friend. They're listening to you, but they're paid to listen to you. So they are going to give you an honest, truthful opinion. But at the end of the day, you got to take what they're giving you and you also got to work too, Okay.
Yeah. Well, do you know anything about the reason why a lot of therapists, when you go there, I've had feedback from people and they basically will say, why is it that I'm paying you all this money and I go talk to you and tell you what my problem is and you don't give me any feedback? I'm just talking to like a brick wall.
I'll tell you what, they don't give you any feedback because it's a liability. Let's say I'm your therapist or I'm your counselor and you're like, oh, give me advice. Should I break up with this person? He's toxic and he's this and and I think I should just break up with him. What do you think? If I tell you, oh, definitely break up with him immediately, and then you go break up with that person, you feel some kind of way, and it leads you down a darker road. You may blame me, and you might be taking me to court, liability purposes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's almost like, when you talk to your friend, so you have a friend that you want to confide in, and of course your friend, they're not under no liability, so they're gonna tell you what to do. So you think, I'm gonna go to a therapist and I'm gonna get some professional counseling.
Right. Yeah. Well, counseling is great. Like I said, a counselor is a paid friend. They can. I mean, they're going to be there. They're going to listen. They're getting paid to do this, and they don't know you, so they can't give you advice from a different perspective, which is great.
Right. So, did you get a chance to meet with anybody when you were going to school? Did you have any assignments and things that you would have to do any real time work in the actual office?
Well, I actually sat in on a lot of people's counseling sessions. I sat in a lot of groups where, people were going to like drug rehab and detox groups. And one thing that I learned that is like very common in counseling is they're going to tell you, have a daily routine, have a plan, have a year plan, a 5-year plan, focus on your gifts and your talents. And you don't need to spend $10,000 to hear that, but a lot of people, I guess they spend that money. They go to these counseling rehab centers just to hear those things. And they talk a lot about discipline and training your mind and setting your mind, like, because you can think yourself well almost, or you can think yourself fully depressed, it's all on you.
Oh,
Your thought life, you are in control of that.
Some people genuinely want to change. What is your advice for them for change?
Sit down and think about what change is really going to look like for you and what it's going to take to make that change happen. Definitely seek some advice from someone that may have been there, done that, or, just research as much as you can, and then understand that it's not going to come easy. It's going to take work. Like if you decide all of a sudden, I'm not going to eat meat, you're going to have to wean yourself off of eating meat. That's a change that's not going to happen instantly, It's going to take some work. You're going to have to find some things you like other than meat. It's going to take some adjustment, some real work. People they just say, I'm going to change, so it's just going to happen. No, you're going to have to work. And some people just aren't built to change. It's just not in them. I hope that, you sit down and you work at it and you're encouraged and you listen to people that are going to uplift you and encourage you. And that's how change is really going to happen.
Right.
Put in the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, based on your experience in this industry, how would you coach someone to find a therapist? What should they be looking for?
Definitely, I would say look at some reviews. Go online, find out about that therapist. Have like a consultation with them. Don't just pay them up front and just say, oh, this is going to be my counselor. Like, do some real research to find that good counselor. Even go on Facebook, go to the different groups and ask people in your area, like, hey, anybody seeing a therapist or a counselor, can you recommend somebody,
Right.
Because I think a lot of people make that mistake with lawyers also. They'll just like find the cheapest lawyer they can find, and later down the road, they'll start reading reviews about this lawyer and they'll see, oh man, this is just like the lawyer I'm dealing with. He's horrible. Or this is just like the therapist I'm dealing with. She's horrible. When you could have done that research before you paid this person all this money, Right. Yeah.
Do you think a therapist should really, if they don't really see that they can really help you any further? Have you seen the practice where they will tell people to maybe they should just go on to something else, or do they just keep billing them and letting them come into their office?
Of course, a lot of them are probably going to just keep billing them, and I've seen that. I've seen people come, they're constantly coming to counseling. They're making, like, in my eyes, I'm like, this is going nowhere. And then you'll have people that'll go to like an inpatient facility where they're like on lockdown, and they'll come back months later and it's like, man, this is just like the jail system. These people are coming in and out, and they're coming back in with the same problems.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So that could be kind of difficult for people because what levels of trauma are you familiar with?
I've seen people that are suicidal, or I've seen people that just have, they're just depressed, I've seen the different levels.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
And when a person comes in to seek a therapist and stuff like that, How long does it take them to identify, how bad off their case is?
I couldn't really answer that question. I mean, they go to a lot of groups. There's a lot of different counseling sessions. And one thing is for sure, they're giving these people structure and routine, which a lot of people lack in their normal everyday life. Some people get up, the first thing they do, they're on their phone looking at Facebook or Instagram. And some people will do that all day. They're not looking for a job, they're not doing anything. They're binge watching stuff on Netflix or Hulu, and they do that all day instead of like working on your dream or binge watching your dream. They're binge watching Hulu.
You're talking about the person you're talking about the person that's not really being focused,
right? But a lot of people aren't focused.
Well,
that's a major issue. That's a major issue people have, not being focused, not being disciplined.
But can a therapist really help someone to get focused?
Absolutely. They can help you put that plan in place. Like, they can help you plan out your day. So they're going to be like, okay, on Monday, what do you think you should be doing? What are you looking to accomplish? On Monday, you're going to get up, first thing you're going to do, instead of picking up your phone, going on Instagram, you're going to go and exercise. You're going to eat a healthy breakfast. You're going to do this. And then that day is planned out. And you go to the next day and the next day and the next day. They're helping you create a real structure, a real routine. And that can make a major difference in somebody's life, especially if they stick to it.
Well, let me say this. What you're saying sounds like a coach.
Well, a therapist is similar to a life coach or a wellness coach, but it's all in how you use it. Some of those people just want somebody to complain to, but you're paying them good money.
Well, that's true. That is true. But I'm just saying, when at the end of the day, it sounds like people really need to know what they need, and they need to know how they need to get there. But if people have let's say you have a life trauma, let's say somebody was abused as a child,
right?
And now they're wired to think about certain things differently. How are they going to handle their situation?
Well, one thing is to when that image or that thought comes to mind, you're going to have to train your mind to shift, because if you dwell on that moment or that time, it can lead to a deep, deep depression. So a counselor or therapist can definitely help you with that. Definitely.
Oh, so you think that maybe people who are traumatized in that way, they're focusing on the trauma too much?
Well, of course you're gonna focus on it. If you lose somebody, like let's say someone passes away and they pass away in a traumatic way, that thought is going to be there for a while, and then it may just keep reoccurring. I remember my uncle passed away in the middle of the night, and he went to the bathroom. And he had a heart attack, and he was on the bathroom floor. My aunt walked in, saw him there, gone. He passed away. He's on that bathroom floor. She, of course, thought about that for a while. Like, that thought just kept coming to her mind, And then I remember talking to her, and I was telling her, I was like, you're going to have to find a way to replace. You got to train yourself that when you think of that moment, you're going to have something that you're going to replace that thought with,
Got you.
Yeah, it's definitely mental.
And I think that's the issue, that people think that there's a magic bullet when you go to a therapist.
No, it's not. No, it's like you got to exercise that brain, that mind to, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But this happens when I think this thought, I'm going to replace that thought with this. And then over a while, it's going to become a habit. And it's going to help you a lot. Especially if you just keep thinking I'm a Christian. People will meditate or they'll dwell on a scripture when they think of something that's bad or something that's going on in their life. I'm not saying you got to dwell on a scripture, but you need to replace that image or that thought with something else. You got to be prepared to shift to something else.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that's true. You're right.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then finally, what do you think is causing people to have so much depression today?
People spend all day watching news and listening to all this, the COVID's never gonna end. This is gonna be bad. This is happening. And then you're up and down that Instagram feed and that Facebook feed, and you're looking at other people's lives. We're too busy looking at what other people have going on instead of focusing on what I want to do, what I want to accomplish with my life. And then those people that you see that are posting all this stuff, a lot of it's made up, like these people are posting pictures with filters. That's not even what they look like, and you're comparing yourself to a filter. Beyonce doesn't look like Beyonce in real life. I mean, and you're comparing yourself to these people and these lifestyles, and some of these people aren't even happy, Turn the internet off a little bit. Just enjoy life,
That's true. Smell the roses, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that we have a lot of, I agree with you on that. I think that too many people are plugged into these devices and are not living their lives like they did years ago, where they go for a ride in the country, take a walk in the park. It's all being connected to these devices. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then look at the whole like system. If they post something and I expected 1,000 likes and you get no likes, it's like these people, it will ruin their day.
True. So social media. So you think social media is really a
social media is a big problem. Social media is a bigger problem than drugs. Social media is a bigger problem than a lot of things. I'm serious. The social media addiction is huge. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that machine called Oculus Quest?
So never heard of that.
It's the virtual reality machine where you go in there, put the goggles on.
Oh, I do. I've seen the commercials. I've seen that.
Right. Okay. That's becoming a big thing too, where people are so caught up into virtual reality that they don't want to come out of that reality back into life.
Yes.
So that's a very big issue as well.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so do you have any final thoughts about how you can help people with trauma and overcoming their issues?
Surround yourself with good people that are positive. Only feed yourself positive things. Be cautious of what you're watching, what you're doing during your day, and just fill yourself up with positivity as much as you can. Your thought life is going to really shape your life. How you think is how your life's going to turn out.
Absolutely. I really appreciate what you're saying about what you feed your mind on is what's coming to the surface. And that's the problem that people are having when they keep reliving that trauma. So, I'm thinking that my audience will be able to really take this information to heart, to really begin to think about the therapist that they're trying to find, making sure their own homework, and making sure that you're not $10,000 later still being billed and haven't gotten any results,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just think. I mean, if you surround yourself with positive people and you're feeding yourself positive stuff, I mean, it has to change. You have to see some type of change take place,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, now when are you starting your podcast?
I'm working on it. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm gonna get there.
Okay. So and what is your podcast gonna be talking about?
I just want to talk about like depression and just like doing things to put yourself in a better mood, working on your mindset, things like that.
Okay.
Going after your goals and dreams.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you get your information, just let me know. I'll be able to link into that and everything. But I appreciate you coming out. Just
thank you.
Making people aware. My biggest takeaway of your interview was the fact that your the therapist doesn't give feedback because of the liability issue. Yeah. And maybe a lot of people don't really realize that, but
they're there to listen.
Someone, huh?
Yeah. They're only there to listen. That's their job. They get paid to listen. Really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so that's good information for people to have to know why they're not giving them any feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, Demarquis, I want to thank you so much for being on Hidden Struggles, and I look forward to catching up with you later.
All right. Thank you.
Make sure you send me those links when you start your podcast.
Will do. I will do.
All right. So this has been Lady C. And I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks for tuning in.
Take care.
Okay.
Right. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Hidden Struggles with your host, Lady C. This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers, online at hiddenstruggle.com. Feel free to send an email to info@hiddenstruggle.com, and we'll catch you next time on Hidden Struggles. The views and opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Critical Thinkers.